which is one of the other dorms, and pushing us back and back and back and saying like, you need to leave, you need to like go into the buildings. People started like rushing into the buildings, like getting pushed into the buildings. Protesters were also still chanting throughout this period. And so it was an incredibly intense time. I'm literally holding my laptop out because I was doing the, as editor-in-chief, I don't report, but I was obviously live editing and doing the live updates of the story. I was publishing as I was like walking backwards, facing the police, and also taking videos so that I had a record of all of this happening. And so they continuously push us back towards John Jay. We're trying to like run off and sneak into a little place, like try to find a place where we could get a vantage point, but like not be in their way. We really wanted to emphasize that. But it really wasn't enough for them. They didn't care that we were press. They didn't care that anybody there was press. I saw CNN there with Anderson Cooper, in fact, and nobody cared, or at least the police didn't care. And so that was incredibly shocking to us. And eventually, they pushed us back into toward John Jay, and we wanted to go back in because we actually left all our stuff there. My backpack with my wallet, government ID, like all my food, like all was left in that building. And they locked those doors, or they blockaded those doors, like shoved the batons into those like handles, like completely locked us out of there, and then also locked the gates to leave that space. So we were like trapped. It was super confusing, and we didn't know what to do. They were shouting at us to leave, but we literally had no exit. It was just so shocking until eventually they were able to open those gates. And as we were leaving, they said, like, they threatened us with arrest. They said, like, you either need to leave or we will arrest you. And that was just unacceptable, of course, in my view. And as we started getting the stories, like as we were live messaging with other reporters, some of them were pushed off campus as well. Some of them lasted a little bit longer. Our core photographer was somehow able to really like navigate and get some really great pictures before also being cleared off campus. And that was so strange because in the first police action, in only 2 weeks earlier, that had not been the case at all. The police had come in, they had taken away the protesters, but there were hundreds of people watching. And notably, it was also a lot more peaceful in that first police action, right? I would say that this second one, there seemed to be a lot more force. And it was just so shocking to see that comparison of the no onlookers versus onlookers, and for the immense amount of force versus less.
I had a kind of description from my vantage point. So we had a newsroom set up in the Brown Center, which is the main floor of the journalism school. And so for a minute we had students from the radio station who couldn't get into the building, and they had were using our space. A ton of our students at the journalism school were in and out of there. I think some spec people came through there. It was a hub. And we had been in negotiations. I was, in addition to being dean, I was one of 4 faculty members who were coordinating negotiations with the students. And up until maybe 45 minutes before the police entered campus, when there were about 1,000 cops surrounding the campus, we were still in negotiations. We were trying to like hammer out something at the last minute. And when that didn't work, when that fell through, I was like, okay, the police is definitely coming on campus. So I'm thinking, I need to go, my next thing is I need to go make sure that the students are safe. So I go down to the Brown Center, and this is how foolish I am. I'm a parent, so I should have known better. So I said, listen, you all have acquitted yourselves amazingly. And the whole country recognizes the work that you've done as journalists. But the police are going to be on this campus, they're going to come in very significant numbers. And I need you to fall back. If you can report the rest of this story from Pulitzer Hall, but there's no need for you to get into the middle of the fray. You've done enough, and you should be applauded. You will be applauded. And they're like, thank you, and they're all in agreement. And then I walk away, and everyone grabbed their cameras and flew out the door. It was like, as if I had told, I have 4-year-old twins. It was like as if I had told them, yeah, there's a birthday cake in the living room, but I need you to not go into the living room. It's like, we won't go into the living room.
So, Jelani, I really do not want to get you fired, but I also want to ask you this question. So you mentioned earlier that you thought that, you saw a legitimate security justification for limiting access to campus, and I see that, I see that too. But I'm wondering, was there a legitimate security justification for clearing all the journalists out on Tuesday night before the raid?
No, I don't think so. And so also, I don't think, in the conversations that we had about this, I was trying to maximize the access that the press had, both for idealistic reasons and then for like completely practical, pragmatic reasons. And so I was like, ideally, like, we stand for freedom of the press. Practically, you will do terrible reputational damage to this institution that you asked me to leave if we go along with limiting access to the press. Like, on neither one of those levels can I like participate in this. And then the other part of it was that I was like, we might as well let the press in. So because I have like 50 students who are roaming the campus reporting. So the call is coming from inside the house. So it was like, we're still doing this. And the other part of it is, as with a kind of metaphor or a microcosm of the bigger national security questions, it was literally back on the campus. We did have to take care of the threats, and we did have to respond to the threats that we had been warned about. We had to take them seriously, but we also had to do that while not unnecessarily infringing upon other liberties and freedoms. And that's what that discussion really was.